Let's do the Vel'Koz support tier list. Okay, Lyandry is S tier, as per usual. As we said, Lyandry just always works on Vel'Koz, just like in mid lane. Works support, mid lane, everywhere. It's way too good. No real reason not to get Lyandrys. Honestly, if you don't know what to build, you can always rely on Lyandrys. It's too damn good. Rod, F, support, complete, F. Let's do Mythics first, right? So we're doing Mythics first. Night Harvester, this is where it gets different. Now, Night Harvester is situational. You buy it in the same exact cases we explained, no MR style in the mid lane. So Night Harvester, in those very cases where you buy it, it becomes S tier. Overall, it's not S tier, but if you pick it in correct cases, it is S tier. Lyandry is more consistent. Night Harvester is better to snowball specific scenarios. So that's a very interesting shift. It goes from F in mid to S in support. It's very, very cool. Crown and support. It's even worse than mid lane because you're not really like a big target and then it kills your damage. The only thing it has going, it's very cheap. So Crown, fairly bad. Ludens is a weaker version of Night Harvester. Still all around solid item, so we go A. Dark Seal, S tier. It's not a mythic, but it is a mythic, okay? Shut up. It's a mythic in my head. Rift Maker, F tier. Moonstone, C tier. Mandate, B tier. It's alright. It's actually alright. Slightly better version of Moonstone. Okay, now we got the Everfrost. Everfrost goes B tier support. It's alright. The thing it has going on, it's not insanely expensive and it gives you value in terms of AP, right? Because every next legendary item gives you AP. When you have a support item, it will count as a legendary, which is going to give you extra 15 AP, right? Would you ever build Ludens over Night Harvester? I doubt it. Doubt it. If I'm gonna build it, I just prefer Night Harvester because it's a better version of Ludens. They do the same thing, just Night Harvester does it better. Even Shroud, I can't really say because I haven't played it much, but I'm gonna say D tier. It's probably, no, it's probably like F tier. It's cheap, I don't know. Shaurelia has uses, honestly. It can serve to enable your team. It's not terrible. Honestly, I'd put it like here somewhere. Shaurelia is not terrible. Rocket Belt, in good cases, can be super good. I buy Ludens if you're ahead and they're squishy. Yeah, but if you're ahead and they're squishy, why would you go Night Harvester? It's just better. It does the same job better. That's the thing. I'd be very pressed to find a scenario where Ludens would outvalue Night Harvester. Like, what is the specific value it brings? I think those are all mythics, right? I think we got all the mythics. Okay, let's go. Archangel, F tier. Banshee, C tier. All the defensive items on support are even worse, right? Actually, this is not terrible. I can see Cosmic Drive now working a little bit on support. Isn't Ludens better late game because of penetration passive? It would stack up eventually a little bit of pen by late game, but I would make an argument that you're not playing really for late game, right? You're playing to win the game. Like, if you're a Vel'Koz support doing the pen build, which is either Ludens or Harvester, you're playing to win early. If you're going late game, you're gonna go Lyandrys. So it's, I don't know, it's just, it's weird. Like, again, it doesn't synergize with its own playstyle. Demonic, D tier. Very difficult to get Demonic. Only in like versus heavy HP stacking guys. Not huge value. Actually, I think these two can be reversed. I still like Banshees. Banshee is decent. As a defensive item, it's not that hurtful, right? Horizon Focus, S tier, as per usual. Trick is here on a support. Shadow Flame also becomes S tier. Shadow Flame also becomes S tier. You're still doing the same pairings, except Shadow Flame is better. Magi's S tier. Way too good. No real reason not to get it. Okay, what other very cool items do we got? Lichbane gains in value. Lichbane is insane. You can roam, baby. Actually, I'm putting Lichbane B tier. Lichbane's good. Morello is slightly better on support. Morello is slightly better on support. I mean, you're a support wasting an item slot for this, so your mid laner or AD carry or anyone doesn't have to, and you enable it fairly well, right? So it's not terrible. Lucidity boots, it really depends which build you're running for. Lucidity and Pen are both like S tier, so it's one or the other. They're both like best in slots. It just depends which one you get. But you've noticed if you watch my mid lane, that Shadow Flame and Pen boots rose up because you're playing for initial damage and you're just doing this roaming assassination style. So impact, so early damage gains more value than on mid lane, because mid lane it's way harder to find those angles because you're mostly stuck clearing waves, which is where Lyandry's comes in. Lyandry's is just an all-rounder, right? Mobility boots, you can imagine them working. They're B tier. The issue is like when you're in combat, they lose value. Swifties are very useful, better than Mobies for sure. Death Cap on support is like C tier. Extremely difficult to get. Extremely difficult to get. If you can get it, it's amazing, but it's so difficult to get. Most people don't understand that, so they're gonna start building it, and very often by the time they build it, the game's already over, they lost. So it's like, oh, your support paycheck. You recall with 400, you buy a that pink ward, you're 325. Go in the fight, come back with 1000. Go back in. You come back with 1.7k after a good fight. And then you buy 1250, and then you're left with 450, and then you're sitting on that, and you can't do anything. Then you recall with 1k, you can't do anything. Then you went, then come back. It's like 1250, 1100. You can't do that on support. It's so difficult. So goddamn difficult. Unless you're like the only guy hyper carrying and just getting giga fed every fight is like 3 kills, right? So it's better, like, in most cases, not even start building it. Unless you really, really can. Wardstone. Wardstone is amazing. I love Wardstone as a third item. Usually I'm gonna go like Night Harvester into the Shadow Flame into Wardstone, or Lyandry into Horizon into Wardstone, right? These are very, very good. Spell Thief, despite the nerfs, S tier, so good for Vel'Koz. Godlike item for Vel'Koz. Very, very good stuff. Anathemas on support, probably like C tier. Not huge value you can get from that. All the defensive boots are kind of shit on support because you want them to focus you on support. You don't want to be tanky. Defensive boots fairly shit unless they get like insane like 5 AD or 5 AP, CC, whatever. Which is just not gonna happen in ranked, right? Void Staff with support, again, it's not like mid lane where you have more money to fix the build. You have to think it ahead. You have to think as a support that you won't really get to the Void Staff or Death Cap. It's good sometimes, can recover your build. You will rarely build it, so it doesn't hold that much value. Rylai's, unlike mid lane, it's still F tier. You thought it was gonna get better. It's garbage. It's still garbage. It does nothing. Do not get that item, chat. Do not get it. Deadman's is alright, but as we said, on support, defensive items lose a little bit of value. Zhonya's on support, probably D tier. Only in very specific scenarios, right? Where they have like full AD, full stuff. Like, it's just not good. Nashor's D tier. When you buy attack speed, it's just so bad. You may get like 2 auto attacks as support, but it's really bad. Heartsteel is D. Heartsteel is D. Again, expensive for support, extremely expensive. By the time you build it, the game's over. Could have some merit theoretically. By the time you get it, is just not good, right? I think that's it. Support itemization is fairly simple. Cookies and support are not good because you have to go inspiration. That means you lose either domination or sorcery, and for support, you need to go relentless hunter on domination. You absolutely need to. I mean, you can go inspiration into cookies with the first strike, but then it's like, that's too low threat, I guess. If you go inspiration, you get magical footwear, and magical footwear is still S tier. Refillable is alright on support because you do intend to trade a lot, unlike mid lane. It's slightly better than mid lane, so I'd put it like C tier, maybe B tier, you know? You can get it in certain scenarios, like, again, you're dealing with Ezreal Karma, pick it up, you can sustain, and then you win all-ins anyway. Control words, still S tier. They are still S tier. And I think that's about it. I think that's it, and I'm gonna just show you the core build paths. So this is the build, usually. This is how the build runs. So this is against Noemar, and this is the one that I'm gonna run quite a lot. If you have squishies and OMR, this is what you do. And then you pop off, right? Now, ideally, after this, you get decap. Very difficult to purchase, so you're probably going to be getting Wardstone instead, right? You're probably going to be getting Wardstone. Where the fuck did it go? So you're going to get Wardstone, and then this, and then finish up the build. By the time you get this, the game is over, though, on support. So that's against Noemar. Overall, it's not necessarily best overall, but it's like the most consistent build is going to be this. Quite similar. You want Magi's on both, by the way, on support. You want Magi's on both. This one you tend to do also when you want to go anti-heal. So not necessarily Morello. You can just go Oblivion Orb. You necessarily have to compile it. If you do this, you tend to want to get heal reduction, right? So you do this, or this, or this, and then you shuffle. And that's kind of the best build. For support, there's no real defensive build, because you don't go support defensive. The whole thing revolves around the double threat system. You want to be a threat. You want them to focus you, so you can pull advantage for your team, right? Because they focus you, your teammate gets an opportunity, and they make plays. That's about it, honestly. I think those are the key builds. If I want to win early and snowball against Noemar squishies, I'll always go Night Harvester. If I want to play late game, I'm going to go Lyandry's. Voice Staff, yeah, like if you get the late game video against Noemar build and they somehow build a bunch of MR, they're sinning. Like they're not itemized against your team, they're itemized against you in order to recover this MR that you have, because you've already stacked up MR here, right? You already stacked up or a magic penetration, and then they buy like a lot of MR, so that's gonna kill your build, right? Because this is like 10 to 20, this is like what, 18, 5, or not even 5. So what do you got, 28 to 38? They buy like 2 null magic mantles, that's 50, and you're done. Like your entire build is countered. So if in late game you can go this to recover your build. Same thing here. If you get the late game here and they're stacking a lot of MR and you build this anti-tank shredding, you can put it in. Yeah, Luden's just not a thing on support, really. So yeah, those are the builds. Here you go, Lucidities. Lyandry and Shadow Flame? No, we don't do that. That's it. Those are the 2 tier lists we did. 1 support, 1 mid. Now you know everything. Now you have infinite Vel'Koz knowledge. You're blessed.